Heyo everybody, Haku here, and it is time to review Monster Musume no Iru Nichijou, Chapter 40. And I think this one was like Mon Part 2, It's Me Doppel, or something like that. Though I didn't really pay attention to the title now that I think about it, because titles aren't really that prominent in Monster Musume. But essentially, this was probably one of the best chapters of the series I've read, just as a chapter in and of itself. It was a very self-contained story, but the story worked well from start to finish, and I'm going to break it down more deeply at the end, break down my thoughts on it, but first I want to break it down part by part and say what I thought of everything that happened. So the basic plot of this is that Kurus is there to help Doppel with pranks. Call Sam Pepper, but I feel like that was not an established part of Doppel's character that I remember. Like, I don't remember her pulling pranks on people until this chapter. So they go to town and they see Lilith robbing the bicycle cop, the best cop in existence. So Lilith robs the bicycle cop and they recognize her and they plan to pull a prank on her. And we find out that Doppel loves being in Mon because that she can do whatever she wants to people as long as it's the bad guys she's doing it to, which is probably not the best moral for her character, but it's hilarious and it works really well this episode or chapter. One thing I don't like is all of the girls call Kurus something different, like Mia's darling or Rhaenyra's honey, but she calls him Bae, and I was like, that's, especially since it's a very dated term as well. Like, it's one of those things that maybe a year or two a bunch of people were saying, and now pretty much nobody says it. And even when a bunch of people were saying it, most people didn't like people saying it for whatever reason. I personally don't care either way. Say what you want. But I think it's a bit of a dated term, and I didn't think it fit Doppel that well. Like, the kind of character she's been set up as is not the typical person that uses Bae in a serious manner. But chances are she wasn't being serious. She was just screwing around with the guy. But pretty much, Lilith pretty much tries to rape Kurus. That's pretty much what I'm going to go for here. She tries to seduce him, and then that leads to her trying to rape him because he tells her to put on some clothes, even after she hypnotizes him. Then Doppel shows up, disguised as Rhaenyra, and ties her up, which she enjoys, and starts taking pictures. Transforms back into Doppel, and we find out Kurus was hypnotized, and his innermost feelings are, put some damn clothes on, because he tells Doppel to put clothes on as well. So honestly, the jokes just worked. Like, up until here, it was very funny throughout. The jokes they've made, and I feel like the comedy's a little lost in a lot of manga, and the comedy's not all that great, but for a comedy, the jokes worked, and they worked from this point, and they worked for the rest of the episode as well. Then Doppel and Kurus, they run into Liz and Kinu, just sitting around, and Draco shows up trying to hit on Liz, but Liz just turns her down, and that was a very funny scene. The jokes in that worked very well as well. So pretty much the comedy was solid throughout, was more than solid. Then Draco runs into Mia after that, and this is another part that I was like, it's been a plot point in several chapters before that the girls can't be out on their own. So why is that being ignored here and Mia's just out in public at a coffee shop? So that was a bit of a plot hole in this one, but again, it's a comedy. It's there for jokes. So something small like that, I'm not really going to complain about, especially since it wasn't really addressed or anything, and it's not like something that breaks the universe or whatever. It was just noticeable to me. So Kurus and Doppel, through various bad disguises, or not really that bad disguises, they trick Draco into giving Mia an apology gift But she gives the same apology gift to Liz as well. The two see it, and they both yell at Draco, bitch her out, and leave. So then Draco's left alone, and Liz notices Kurus and Doppel there, and Kurus asks her, doesn't your company work for the mermaids? Why are you here? And Liz says that she and Kinu are there looking for an extra species person criminal that was deported, but rumors are that he is back. Then, of course, we find out that this criminal was the head of, the Orc Reclamation Society or something that we had in the one of the first chapters with Mon. Maybe even the first chapter with Mon when they were introduced. It was the Orc Reclamation guy, and he grabs Draco. So then he grabs Draco, and Doppel lures him away by transforming into Lilith because he's a lolicon. But then the Lilith Doppel gets captured, but she is freed when Kurus hits the orc in the back of the head with the real Lilith, who's still tied up. And she's still into it because she thinks that it's just Ragnaros screwing with her or whatever. So, again, very funny. And then he goes and grabs her and saves her again, and it gives Doppel the time she just transforms into an Eldritch horror and scares the crap out of him, maybe beats the crap out of him, we don't know. It's off screen because we cut back to a fun little reference to the Cthulhu mythos with Liz and Kinu playing a tabletop game. And the references to the Cthulhu mythos were because that is where Okayato said he drew the inspiration for Doppel. So then Kurus and Doppel give the orc over to the bicycle cop and Liz and Kinu. And then she's like, okay, Kurus, you saved my life there by tossing Lilith at the guy's head, so I'll do whatever you want. And in a great, hilarious ending that wrapped it all up super well, he says, anything I want? Well, I want you to put on some clothes, pretty much. So it ends with a funny and cute scene of Doppel wearing clothes and everyone wondering what's wrong with her because she's wearing clothes. So, very good. And I've got to say that this one was amazing, start to finish. For a comedy, it did exactly what it needed to do. It was funny throughout while telling a decent story. It doesn't need to tell some deep and meaningful story like Mon Musu's chapter 38 just did, the chapter with Lala. It doesn't need to tell a story like that. It can be just a nice, easy story as long as it contains itself well. And this contained itself super well. Everyone stayed in proper character, I would think, and the artwork, as always, was very, very good. I've got to say that the plot probably wasn't as self-contained and as good of a single, one-shot plot as 38 was, and the artwork probably wasn't quite as nice as 39 was, because 39, we got a lot of cool action shots with Zombina and Shishi. But overall, I thought that it was great. I thought that it's the best sort of chapter you can ask for from a comedy. It doesn't tell a bad story. It tells a good story for a one chapter, and it makes you laugh throughout. So it did everything it needed to do, and because of that, I actually think I'm going to give this one 10 Crawling Chaos Cthulhus out of 10. I think Crawling Chaos Cthulhu was the book that Doppel was reading there. So, yeah, 10 out of 10. This is the best you can ask for from a comedy manga, I think. It was very nice. I can't say much more about it than that. I mean, I can't just sit and praise something for how great it is. And it's a lot easier to describe how something was bad or how something messed up than how something did things right. So, yeah, it's a bit difficult to discuss how it did things right, but it did things right, and I would definitely recommend, if you like comedy, go read this. I mean, you might not be into fan servicey stuff, but there wasn't a ton of that this chapter. This chapter relied pretty much solely on the comedy, and it paid off. I really don't like Mon Musu chapters where it's just fan service and it relies pretty much completely on the fan service, but there are a lot of chapters, and it's why I completely love the manga. There are a lot of chapters that focus mostly on the comedy, and when they do that, it comes together really, really well. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. Like if you liked it. Comment down there, tell me your thoughts on the chapter and your thoughts on my thoughts of it. Subscribe for more Monmusu. I'll be doing a live reaction and a review whenever a new chapter comes out, and I'll likely be doing some other videos on it here and there maybe. And then I do at least 3 videos a week of One Piece, Tower of God, and The Walking Dead. And I do a bunch of other videos too, Pokemon here and there. So, yeah, I think that's about it. Follow on Twitter for updates if you want to know when a new video is coming up or if I have to push back a video. I thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.